Hi guys, welcome back to my read along channel. This is The Bed and Breakfast Star by Jacqueline Wilson. We're going to read just the next chapter today. This is all Jacqueline Wilson's own work. I'm just reading it for entertainment and pleasure. Just as a side note, there might be some extra traffic noise, but it is too hot to have the windows shut today for me. So without further ado, the next chapter is called Tea at Macdonalds. We're going to get going. We're on page 41. Sorry, I forgot to add. I thought a family room would have room for a family, something like this, and then it's all spread out beds and like a nice sofa and TV, and it's a nice big spacious room. That's a drawing. Only room 608 wasn't quite how I'd imagined it. It was a bit cramped to say the least, and by the time we squeezed inside with all our stuff, we couldn't even breathe without bumping into each other. Home sweet home, said Mum, and she burst into tears. Don't start the waterworks, said Matt. Come on then, Hen. It's not as bad as all that. It's worse, said Mum, trying to swallow her sobs. It sounded as if she was clucking, like a hen. Matt calls her that when she's trying to be nice. And sometimes calls Pippa Maui Chook, which is probably Scottish for chick. Hank is too big and barging about to be a chick. He's more like a turkey. I don't get called anything. I'm not part of Mac's personal farmyard. I stepped over all our stuff and climbed across the bed or two and made it to the window. It was probably a good thing it had bars, especially with Hank starting to pull himself up. He'd be able to climb soon, and he's got so little sense he'd make for the window first thing. But I didn't like the bars all the time. It felt as if we were in a cage. It wasn't just us and our family. We could hear the people in room 607 having an argument, and the people in room 609 had their television on so loudly it made our room buzz with conversation. The people underneath us in room 508 were playing heavy metal music at the floor, bumped up and down with the beat. At least the sixth floor was the top floor, so there was no one up above making us wreck it. It's Bedlam, said Mum. Bedlam is some old prison place where they put mad people, but it made me think of beds. I flopped down to one of the single beds. It gave a creak and a groan. I didn't bounce a bit on this bed. I just shuddered to a halt. Bed number 7 was a disappointment. I tried the other single bed just in case that was better. It was worse. The mattress sagged right down through the bed springs. I set them all jangling as I jumped on. Elsa, will you quit that, Max yelled. I was just trying to make my bed, that's all, sussing out where we're going to sleep. I decided to crack a bed joke to cheer us all up. Hey, where did baby 8 sleep? Give it a rest, Elsa, eh? Mum sniffed. No, listen, this is a good one. Really? Where did baby 8 sleep? Can't you guess? Baby 8 sleep in apricots. I waited. They didn't even titter. Apricots, I said clearly, in case they hadn't got it first time round. Shh! Keep your voice down. Everyone can hear what you're saying, said Mum. Then why isn't everybody laughing? I said. Look, don't you get it, baby apes? That's enough, Mac thundered. Button that lip, honestly. Then I had to unbutton, because I just thought of something. What about Hank? There isn't a bed for him, I said. We all looked around the room as if a bed might suddenly appear out of nowhere. This'll be Hank's little bedroom in here, said Pippa, opening a cupboard door. That stuck right out in the room, taking up even more of the space. It wasn't another bedroom, it was the shower and the loo and the wash basin all cramped in together. We're going to be able to save some time, you know. I reckon you could sit on the loo and clean your teeth and stick your feet in the shower all at the same time, I said. Let's have a try, eh? Look, come out of there, Elsa, and stop mucking about, said Mum. This is ridiculous. Where is Hank going to sleep? I'll go downstairs and tell them we're needing another bed, said Mac. Yes, but where are we going to put it, said Mum. There's no room to move as it is. Maybe we'll have to take it in turns to move, I said. You and Mac could stand in the shower while Pippa and Hank and I play for a bit, and then you could all yell, all change, and we'll cram into the shower, and you two could walk around and around the beds for a bit of exercise. I thought it an extremely sensible idea, but they didn't think so. You'll be the one standing in the shower if you don't watch it, said Mac, and the cold water will be on too, he laughed. That's his idea of a joke. He went all the way downstairs to tackle the big lady about another bed. Mum sat on the edge of her bed, staring into space. Her eyes were watery again. She didn't notice when Hank got into her handbag and started licking her lipstick as if it was an ice lolly. I grabbed him and hauled him into a tiny shower space to mop him up a bit. The hot water tap in the basin was only lukewarm. I tried the shower to see if that had any hot. I couldn't work out how to switch it on. Pippa squeezed in to give me a hand. I suddenly found the right knob to turn. I turned it a bit too far, actually. Mac's joke came true. It wasn't very funny, but at least we all got clean. Our clothes had a quick wash too. I dried us as best as I could. I thought Mum might get mad, but she didn't say a word. She just went on staring, as if she was looking right through the wall into the room, 607. They were still having their argument. It was getting louder. They were starting to use a lot of rude words. Said Pippa, giggling. Matt came storming back, and he was mumbling a lot of rude words too. The hotel management didn't supply beds for children under 2. Hank will have to go back in his cot, he said, and he started piecing the bits of odd duck cot together again. But it's falling to bits now, and Hank's so big and bouncy, he'll keep thumping and jumping the last time he was in it. He'll smash it up into seconds, I said, and that's not Hank's cot anymore, it's my baby pillow's bed, said Pippa indignantly. Baby pillow will have to sleep with you, my wee chick, said Mac. But he won't like that. Baby pillow will cry and kick me, said Pippa. Well, you will just have to cry and kick him back, said Mac, reaching out and giving her a little poke in the tummy. He noticed her t-shirt was a little damp. Here, how come you're soaking wet, said Mac, frowning. I held my breath. If Pippa told on me, and I would half be in for it. Yes, for it. And 5 and 6 it too. But Pippa was a pal. She just mumbled something about splashing herself, so Matt grunted and got on with erecting the duck cot for Hank. I gratefully helped Pippa find baby pillow and all his things from one of the black plastic rubbish bags we'd carted from our old house. My sister Pippa is crackers. Mac was always buying her dolls when he was in work and we were rich. All the different Barbies, My Little Ponies, those big special dolls that walk and talk and wet. But Pippa's only ever wanted baby pillow. Baby pillow got born when Mum had Hank. Pippa started carting this old pillow around with her, talking to it and rocking it as if it was a baby. He's rather a backward baby, as if he was as old as Hank, because he hasn't started crawling yet. If I'm feeling in a very good mood, I help Pippa feed baby pillow with one of Hank's old bottles, and we change his old nappy and bundle him up onto an old nightie, and then we tuck him up in the duck cot and tell him to go to sleep. I generally make him cry a bit first, and Pippa has to keep rocking him and telling him stories. We won't be able to play our game if Hank's got to go in the duck cot, Pippa grumbled. But when Mac had got the cot standing in the last available spot of space, we tried stuffing Hank into his old baby bed. Hank himself decided this just wasn't on. He howled indignantly and started rocking the bars and cocking his legs up, trying to escape. He'll have that over in no time, said Mac. So what are we going to do, eh? He looked over at Mum. She was still staring into space. She was acting as she couldn't hear Mac or even Hank's bawling. Mum, said Pippa, and she clutched baby pillow anxiously. Hey, Mum, I said, and I went and shook her shoulder. She wasn't crying anymore. This was worse. She didn't even take any notice of me. Here, said Mac, grabbing Hank, hauling him out of the cot and dumping him into Mum's lap. For a moment, Mum kept her arms limply by her side, her face still blank. Hank howled harder, hurt that he was getting ignored. He raised his arms, wanting a hug. He stretched higher, lost his balance, and nearly toppled right off Mum's lap and onto the floor. But just in time, Mum's hands grabbed him and pulled him close against her chest. Don't cry, I've got you, said Mum, sighing. She blinked back at herself again. Where's the wee boy going to sleep then? Mac asked again. Mum shrugged. He'll have to sleep with one of his sisters, won't he? She said. Not me, I said quickly. Not me either, said Pippa. He wets right out of his nappies. Hank went on crying. He's hungry, said Mum. We could all do with a drink and quite a bit to eat. I'm going to go and find all this communal kitchen. Here, Hank, go to Daddy, and you girls, you get all of our stuff unpacked from those bags, right? Yes, everything was all right again. Mum rolled up her sleeves and got the cardboard box with our kettle and our pots and pans and some tins of food, and we went off to find the kitchen. Matt romped on the bed with Hank, and he stopped crying and started chuckling. Pippa and Baby Pillow was still crying, though, and she insisted she had to tuck up in the duck cot and put him to sleep. So I got lumbered doing most of the unpacking. There were 2 bags full of Pippa's clothes and Hank's baby stuff. There was an old suitcase stuffed with Mum and Mac's clothes and Mum's hairdryer and her makeup and her precious china crinoline lazy, and there was my carrier bag. I don't have that many clothes because I always get them mucked up anyway. I've got t-shirts and shorts for the summer and jumpers and jeans for the winter and some knickers and socks and stuff. I've got a Minnie Mouse hairbrush, though it doesn't ever get all the tangles out of my main hair. I've got a green marble that you used to pretend was magic. I've got my box of felt tip pens, and most of the colours have run out, and Pippa mucked up some of the points when she was little. But I don't mind throwing them away yet. I don't feel like throwing them away yet. Sometimes I colour a ghost picture, pretending the colours in my head. Then there are my joke books. They are a bit torn and tatty, because I thumb through them so often. I hoped Mum would be ever so pleased with me getting all our stuff sorted out and the room all neat and tidy, but she came back so flaming mad she hardly noticed. This is ridiculous, she said, dumping the cardboard box violently, that all the pots and pans played a tune. I had to queue up for ages just to get in this crummy little kitchen, and then when some of these other women were finished and I got my chance, I realised that it was a waste of time anyway. You should see the state of that stove. It's filthy. I'd have to scrub it for a week. Before I even set my saucepans on it. Even the floor's so slimy with grease, I nearly slipped and fell. What are we going to do, Matt? You're asking Big Mac, right? Said Matt, throwing Hank up in the air so he shrieked with delight. Big Mac says let's go and eat Big Macs at Macdonalds. Pippa and I shrieked with delight too. Mum didn't look so thrilled. And what are we going to live for on the rest of the week, eh? She said. We can't eat out all the time, Mac. Come on now, Hen. Give it a rest. You just now said that we can't eat in, so we'll eat out today. Tomorrow we'll just have to take care of itself. The sun will come out tomorrow, I sang. I maybe don't have a very sweet voice, but it's strong. Elsa, keep your voice down, Mum hissed. Mac pulled a silly face and covered up his ears, pretending to be deafened. We sang the Tomorrow song at school. It comes from a musical about a little orphan girl called Annie. Occasionally, I think I'd rather like to be little orphan Elsa. Still, I cheered up considerably because Macdonalds was one of my all-time favourite places. Mum changed Hank and we all got ready to go out. It was odd using the little loo in the bedroom. Pippa didn't like it with everybody listening, so I trekked down the corridor with her to find a proper ladies' toilet. If Mum saw it, she'd get flaming mad again. Pippa got even more upset, hopping about agitatedly, so I ended up trailing her down 6 flights of stairs and down the corridor to the toilet where we met Naomi. I hoped she might still be there, but she'd gone. The boys weren't hanging around anymore either. The rude words were still on the wall though. We'd worked up quite an appetite by the time we trudged up the stairs to put on our jumpers, and then Mum all over again with Mum and Mac and Hank, and it was a long walk into the town to find the Macdonalds too. Pippa started to lag behind, and Mum kept twisting her ankle in her high heels. I started to get a bit tired too, and my toes rubbed up against the edge of my trainers because they were getting too small for me. Mum moaned about being stuck in a dump of a hotel at the back of beyond, and said she couldn't walk another step. Matt stopped at a phone box and he had called a cab then, and Mum said it was crazy, and it was no wonder we all ended up in a bed and breakfast. It was starting to sound like a very big round. I was getting scared that we might maybe end up with no tea at all, but then we got to a bus stop and a bus came along and we all climbed on and we were in the town in no time at Macdonalds. Mac had this Big Mac. Mum had chicken nuggets. I chose a cheeseburger and Pippa did too, because she always copies me. Hank nibbled his own French fries and experienced his very first strawberry milkshake. It was great. We didn't have a big row, but we did even have a little one. We sat in the warm, feeling full, and Mac pulled Pippa onto his lap, and Mum put her arm around me, and Hank nodded off in his buggy, still clutching a handful of chips. We looked like an ordinary happy family having a meal out, but we didn't go back to an ordinary happy family house. We had to go back to the bed and breakfast hotel. The people in 607 were still arguing. The people in 609 had their television blaring. The people in 508 were still heavy metal music, and it was even more of a squash in room 608. We all went to bed because there wasn't much else to do. Mum and Mac in the double bed, Pippa and Hank either end of the single bed, me in the other, Baby Pillow the comfiest of the lot in the duck cot. Hank wasn't the only one who wet in the night. Pippa did too, so she had to creep in with me. She went back to sleep straight away, but I didn't. I wriggled around uncomfortably, Pippa's hair tickling my nose and her elbow digging into my chest. I stared up into the dark while Matt snored and Hank snuffled, and I wish I could rise out of my crowded bed right through the roof and up into the starry sky. Okay guys, that is the next chapter of the Bed and Breakfast Star. So we'll be on 57 when we start the next chapter, and that one is called Sugar Sandwiches for Breakfast. So without further ado guys, thank you so much for listening. Until the next time guys, goodbye.